Hello everyone, I'm Colin Cadet. Today we're going to have a look at the Wobble Blade. And if you've never seen one before, today's your chance. So don't forget to subscribe or follow. And the whole reason that these came into being, because these were a fairly inexpensive way of creating a dado blade. And I've had mine for at least 30 years. And back in the day, I didn't want to spend a lot of money for a big stacking dado set that I wasn't going to use all that often. So this was an alternative. And even today, you can still purchase these today. So I've moved over to the table saw, and for those of you who have not heard of a wobble blade before, it's basically an adjustable dado blade. And the way it works, it's a single offset blade, and you can see as I spin it, see how the blade is has an angle to it, and it's adjustable by adjusting this center hub here. I get the right angle here. By adjusting the center hub, and you can see that there's a series of numbers around here, you can adjust it from actually a little less than 1/4 of an inch all the way up to about 7/8 of an inch. And it's an all-in-one, simple to use little dado blade, but it can do a lot more, and that's what I wanted to show you today. So there's that wobble wheel installed, and that's the kind of action it gets when it spins on the arbor. You can see how it moves back and forth like that. So like a lot of things, there's pros and cons to each kind of system. This one is an 8-inch blade. You can see it's pretty wide compared to a 7-inch blade. And by the time you get all of those chippers in there for a big wide dado, you've got a lot of steel to spin. And I actually weighed this, and it weighs almost 15 ounces once you get all of the chippers in there. This one, by comparison, weighs 8 ounces, so quite a bit of difference in the weight. The advantage with the stacking, what we call a stacking dado set, because all of the blades are spinning all on the same plane, you will get nice flat bottoms in your dados. Compared to this one, and as you know now, because the blade moves back and forth in there, it actually creates a little bit of a cove in the bottom of your dados, and we're going to run some of those and have a close look at that just to see how much of a cove there is in there. You might be surprised what that looks like. So that's the difference between those two blades. The other disadvantage with the wobble blade is the markings are not well defined. You can see the edge mark on one side, that's a pretty big slot, and there really isn't, well, I guess there is a little tick there, but pretty hard to align. Very often when you need to use these, you often need to move this, make one cut, and then move back and forth a little bit to fine tune that cut if you want if you're looking for real tight dados. So that's one of the disadvantages of this. But I have overcome that by doing this. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it's a very fine line. But right there, at the end of my finger, there's a little tiny line there, because when I use this, I'm almost always using it as a 3/4 inch cut. And if I find the right side here. Anyway, what I've done is I have marked on, there we go, on one side I've marked, it's a very, very fine line. You might not even be able to see it. I've marked a very fine line on the gray and another one on the black. And when I want to cut a 3/4 inch, I can line up those two little marks, which I don't think you can see, and I can get a perfect 3/4 inch dado every time, because I took some time to set it up and make my own marks, and it's always true. So that's one of the ways you can get around something like that. Now I've taken a moment to set up my dado blade, and I've set it to 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to be using this MDF material because it's an exact 3/4 of an inch thick material. So let's go ahead and run that through. Now, this should be a pretty tight fit in there. Yeah, that's good. So there's what I wanted to show you. I'm going to show you a close-up of that. There's where there should be an arc down there. So let's have a quick look at that, a real close look. So right there should be an arc in there, and that's what a lot of experienced woodworkers will complain, that a wobble blade will give you a cove in there, and there probably is a cove, but watch when I zoom in there. I don't even see a cove. If there is a cove there, it's minimal at best. There's like almost nothing there. And if there was a little bit of a cove, it would just be a place for glue to be able to help bond all of these surfaces together. So that kind of discredits the cove idea here. There really is negligible coving happening there. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a cove in this other piece of MDF that I have here. So you can see that I've got some boards here, some long boards. I have this one fastened with a mag switch. I'm going to put this one on the same, make it parallel all the way along. And at the end down here, which you can't see on camera right now, I'm clamping the ends of these so that they can't move. So that's what that looks like. So I'm clamped down here to the steel. You can see the clamps down at the other end, and this is parallel all the way along. Now typically, if you're making your own crown moldings or any kind of molding and you want to cut a cove in it, maybe there's other things that you're doing that you want to cut a cove in something. This is an ideal way of doing that because basically you're running diagonally across the blade, and a wobble blade is perfect for this because it has big wide teeth. I'm going to take my time going through there and that should give us a pretty good clean cut. So let's have a look. And there's what that looks like. You can see that's a nice, accurate, and I've got that pretty close to the center there. You may need to do a couple of tests, but for doing your own crown moldings or your own moldings, whether it's moldings on furniture or on your house, a wobble blade like this is something that you can utilize in different ways, and this is one of the different ways. And of course with these, you can change the angle of these, and that of course will affect the angle of how deep and how narrow your cove might be. The closer you go here, of course, it'll be that much narrower. So I've kind of taken a bit of a medium cove in here. Lots of different things you could do with something like that. Decorative pieces, handles, door handles, all sorts of different things that you could make with something like that. Well, that concludes my video for today. I don't know what creative things some of you might be able to come up with, but a wobble blade might be something you can do some more with. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.